Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to be talking about how to navigate the emotions of money. We have with us Mr. Bob Willer, is the founding partner at Willer and BI CPA. He's the CFO of the world famous comedy store, the author of The Money Nerve, and the podcast host of Money You Should Ask. Mr. Bob Willer, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So there is a lot going on. You have your hands in all the pots.
I try.
And so really I want to first ask you is because the first thing that really caught my eye was the book that you were called Money Nerve. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so The Money Nerve is a book that I ended up writing after several conversations with clients and a lot of my friends who are comics, and realizing that a lot of people were making business decisions without understanding the emotional under voice that they were making it with. So people would go out and make decisions that made no sense, but emotionally they made total sense. And so I wrote this book to help people start to get aware of their unconscious beliefs around money.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So how do emotions impact financial decisions?
Well, some people end up not going for things or not having a lot of money because they think people might judge them, or people might think that they're greedy, or people will think that they're overly ambitious, so they might hold back. Or somebody might pay for everything so that people will think that they're kind and generous. Sometimes you go out to dinner with a bunch of people and somebody's always like, I've got it, I'm going to pay the whole thing. And maybe it's they're being generous, but also maybe underneath they feel insecure that people don't think they're good enough. So we use money to buy love. We use money to manipulate. We use money to control. A lot of stuff comes up when we bring in the money.
Yes, we do. Yes, it is. That's so true. That brings me to my next question. What's a healthy relationship with money?
Yeah, so for me, a healthy relationship with money is a relationship where we're happy with what we have. We actually, instead of looking for what we don't have, we can actually see what we do have and have gratitude, hopefully. And also just being comfortable to live within our means. We don't all have to be multimillionaires. And studies have shown that exponentially happiness does not increase by the dollars in your bank account. And so for me, a healthy relationship with money is being able to have choice and being able to just be comfortable with what you do have.
That is so true. And I think people try to strive too much to be something that doesn't fit the realm of who they really are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in this culture, we are taught, or at least I was taught, that we are our accomplishments, and that if we don't make lots of money, we don't really have any value. And so it's not about who we are as a person, but what we've accomplished and how many assets we have.
That is so true. That segues me into another question, and it's really good. Why do we need financial therapy?
Yeah. So for most people, if they're doing things unconsciously, especially in business, um, then the more we can get aware of those things and get conscious of where we get angry or triggered or where we take ourselves out, the more we can move forward in, consciously and intentionally. I've had several clients that started their own businesses, and it wasn't like one client, it wasn't a good fit. And he had this opportunity to make a whole bunch of money elsewhere. And I said, "Oh, you should take this opportunity." And he said, "Yeah, but my mom will be really disappointed if I don't succeed on my own." And so he was willing to go bankrupt, uh, so he wouldn't disappoint his mom, instead of actually looking at it and going, this is actually a much better financial path for me.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That
It
happens a
does.
lot. We get so caught up on what our parents would think, our friends would think, our loved ones would think, and not really pull the trigger on opportunities that that really would do us very well. But just the fear of a failure, of being a failure or whatever have you, never really cause us to really live up to our full potential, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, how do we overcome these financial depressions, if you will?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is just getting conscious, getting aware, so that if we know that we're in a mindset of I'm always broke, or I never get ahead, or everybody else does better than me. Like, we have to get aware that we're in that mindset, that victim mentality, or the woe is me, so that we can then start to make choices to do it differently. We can either start setting the intention of saving some money, or finishing that college degree, or whatever those things might be out there that we keep not doing so that we can stay in our story. And then actually find other people around us to get support so that we can get held accountable, and then move through it.
You mentioned support. How important is that support system in regards to our financial well-being?
I think support is incredibly important. It doesn't mean that you need people to tell you everything to do. It sometimes might just be somebody that's willing to listen and say, man, I've been there too. I know you're going to get through it. We all need to have cheerleaders. And it can be a coworker, it can be a family member. Sometimes it's not a family member. That could be the worst choice. But finding people out there that you can have a money buddy or an accountability buddy, so that you've got somebody to talk to when you struggle, and not put any shame around it, which is, I think, what a lot of people are afraid to talk about money. Because it's a very private thing. We don't run around going, look at my bankruptcy. Oh my God, I've got $50,000 worth of credit card debt. Look at me, I'm the guy. Right? We are like, no, my life is perfect. So if you've got a couple people that won't shame you and you can just be real with, I think it's incredibly important to have that support.
That's actually true. That is so true. What kind of habits can help with your decision making?
Well, I think when you're making decisions, it's always good to sit down and write out the pros and cons. I'm an accountant, so I like the cost benefit analysis. What's the cost of not moving forward, emotionally, financially? And then what are the benefits of moving forward? Or conversely, what's the benefits of staying small? There's some negative pleasure in staying a victim. And what's the cost? I have to step up and be uncomfortable. I have to be seen. I might get judged. And so to sit down and start looking at what's the pros and cons of a situation, and then what am I going to get out of this? Is this really going to make me happy? If I'm going to buy this new car, is it to make other people happy, or is it to make me happy? So really assess what's my intention here.
Do you think that's a very common thing from 30 years ago up until now, that we're more of look at me kind of generation,
Yeah.
and not really focus on really how to kind of diversify our portfolio, but we just really trying to more impress people?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think social media, advertising, television, all that stuff is influencing us tremendously, which is why I think the numbers show that there's a lot more depression. Even though we're more connected, we're less connected, right? Everybody sees what we're doing, but they're just seeing a photograph. Look, I just ate at this amazing restaurant. Look, but we're not showing our debt. We're not showing our failures. And so we're all presenting, and then everybody's looking, going, wow, I got left out. They got to go to Spain, right? So we see all this, and then we think that everybody's living that way every day.
That is true. They see somebody on a yacht one day, they think that's what they're doing every day. you know. Uh,
Yeah, it's funny. When I moved to California, I had the idea that I would spend one day at the beach, one day at Disneyland, then one day at the beach, and then one day at Disneyland, and then somewhere in between I'd work and get a little bit of money. Right? That was the fantasy. It's just gonna be amazing. It's gonna be the happiest place on earth every day. Yeah, not quite like that in the real world.
that's so true. So why do people experience this financial depression?
Well, I think, that starts from when we're young. Um, we could be 4 or 5 years old and we're asking for something around the holidays or for our birthday, and our parents might say, "You're so greedy. You always want everything," or they might just shame us. Or you don't work, you're lazy. Like, there's just all this stuff that comes in as a child, and then we take that on as truth. So if we grow up believing that we're not worthy, if we grow up believing that we don't deserve it, if we grow up believing we talk too much or we're too much, then we start to shut down, so that later on it gets depressing because we can't actually really express who or what we really want.
That is really true. So there's definitely power in words.
Absolutely.
That's so. How can we set these smart financial goals for ourselves?
Well, I think the first thing when I work with people, I ask them to put down short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, like list them out on a piece of paper, even if they don't make sense. And they don't all have to be financial. It could be, retiring with lots of money, or it could be retiring on a farm. But to put down the goals and then just sort of reassess them. Is this really what I want? Or is this what my parents want? Or is this what my spouse wants? Are these things that I really want? Because if I don't really want them, I may not really put the energy in. I think that's the first thing. And then I think it's important to figure out, what do I want to accomplish in this life? What am I here for? And then, are the decisions that I'm making today in integrity and in alignment with what I say I want my life to be about? If I want my life to be about purpose, if I want my life to be about travel, if I want my life to be about looking cool, whatever those things are, am I doing things that serve what I say I want?
Wow, that's good. So how effective do you think that is of putting things down on paper instead of just like putting it on your phone or somewhere else?
Yeah, so I think that putting things on paper is critically important. There's something about the mind and the paper, the power of the pen when we connect. When you type it in your phone, you're not really connecting with anything. But when you actually, and they've done studies, but when you actually put pen to paper, there's something that connects in your brain and actually makes it more likely to happen.
That's true. That's true. I noticed when I put things on paper, I remember it a little better than if I like put it in my notes in my phone. I noticed that
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, yeah.
So, how effective is navigating the emotions of money? How effective is that?
Well, I think for me, it's been effective. I think it's very effective for a lot of my clients that have done the work. It doesn't mean that you get over things, always. So, for example, when I talk to people at the IRS, I deal with them a lot. I get angry. It doesn't mean I'm going to get less angry. I just means I have a staff person make the phone call so that I don't have to get angry. Or for me, for whatever reason, well, I grew up without big family and not a lot of money. So I grew up with a bit of a scarcity mindset. I love to have 6 months worth of food in the pantry. Is it hurting anybody that I do that? No. And I can joke about it. It doesn't rule my life, but I'm aware that I don't necessarily, but I can manage my emotions. So it doesn't mean that I fix everything. It just means I'm more conscious of how I react and when I react, so that I can actually take a breath and not try to take people out just because I'm getting triggered.
Right. So, you wrote the first book. Do you think there's going to be any more books in the near future?
I would like to. We're actually in talks of updating that book and creating a workbook and coming out with something new. So I'm hoping to maybe have that by early next year.
That'd be
And we
awesome.
also, well, I was gonna say we also just developed a 12-week Mastering the Emotions of Money online course that takes people through a lot of experiences and takes them back to their childhood and their history, and then walks them through to some practical stuff on saving and budgets and setting life goals.
I was just going to ask you, are there any other classes that you offer? Because I noticed that you're on pretty much a lot of the great big social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, alike. Are there any other classes that you offer, or do you do like little tidbits for your followers here and there sometimes?
Yeah, so we do have videos and resources at themoneynerve.com. We've got blogs and resources. We're going to be starting Facebook Live, where once a month I'll be on and answer any questions, whether they're practical, tax stuff, because I'm also a CPA. So we talk about S corps versus Schedule C, things like that. And then emotions. I also have a biweekly, every other week, we have a money and vision group where people can join in and just share what's going on for them emotionally around money. That meets every other week on Thursdays. And then once the COVID is over, I'll get back to teaching live workshops, and we enjoy doing those as well.
Okay. Do you think the workshops are very effective? Do you think they are the most effective way, the approach to kind of get the message across?
Yeah, I think so. I think what happens is when we do the workshops, a lot of the work we do in there is experiential. And so we get to embody our financial fears and all that stuff. And so combining the practical financial with the emotional body experience, most people have walked away feeling really empowered and really aware. And so for me, you can read about it, but to actually, I have a lot of processes that get people energized and into that experience.
That's awesome. So tell us, where can we find you? Websites and other social media platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. The best place to find me is the Money Nerve. That's nerve, not nerd, Nerve. I am a nerd, but the Money Nerve is where you can find all kinds of resources. I've got my email on there, info@the Money Nerve. Anybody that reaches out, we're more than happy to communicate and connect with. We've got all kinds of resources there. You can find out about my other podcasts and all that we're doing, the workshops, everything.
Thank you very much, Bob, for joining us. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Well, you have a great rest of the week, and I hope everybody gets some benefit.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Join us on the next IBS.